Do you have any idea what time it is?
I could say the same to you. The amount of time you spend disciplining Nani lately seems more for your benefit than theirs.
All work and no play makes for a very bored pet. And our pet has been giving us more trouble than we bargained for. I can't just leave them locked up all by themselves lest they get any ideas. Nice try changing the subject, though.
I know. I'm almost done with the script, and then I'll head to bed. Promise.
Or you can finish it in the morning and head to bed now. There's no reason to tire yourself out the night before an episode, Ellie.
There's no reason to use these names when no one else is around, Alec. And still, you insist.
It's been so long since we've been called anything else. Regardless, what have you got so far? Maybe I can help you finish.
The usual greeting, fan letters for the week, and the story of that haunted hideaway mansion people keep talking about. I wanted to offer updates on Nani's disappearance, but the executives want us to keep quiet about the case from now on. That's what I'm struggling with.
Do you think we'll look like suspects?
If we draw too much attention to ourselves. After all, we were in constant contact with Nani for years. They shared so much of their life with us through the show. If a detective gets too confident in a new lead and that new lead happens to be us...
That won't happen. Look, if the pest doesn't crack under the pressure and plead guilty, we could fabricate evidence of a murder to speed up the process. I doubt they'll do much digging with all the rumors spreading around.
On top of our already busy schedule? I guess I could pencil that in for our next day off.
See? I'll even do the heavy lifting this time.
That's what you said last time, and yet I was left to drag Nani all the way across the parking lot while you... Brother? Did you forget to lock the door after all your playing?
In my defense, I didn't think they'd be stretching their legs this soon.
And yet they're stretching them outside.
And welcome back to another episode of The Harrowing. I'm your host, Alec.
And I'm your host, Ellie. Today, we'll be talking about the deep-sea mermaid incident of 1979, a rather chilly legend brought to you all the way from the sunny beaches of San Diego.
But before we get to that, we'd like to thank our returning listener, Night Anon, for congratulating us on our 10th episode of The Harrowing. Thank you for your well wishes, Night Anon. Without support from our listeners like you, sharing our stories wouldn't be nearly as fun.
Or nearly as spooky.
You've got that right. So with that, let's take a dive.
And I'm your host, Ellie. Alec, does today feel particularly special to you?
I don't think so. Why do you ask?
Well, upon arriving to the studio today, we were alarmed to find several gifts lying about. We tried to put our heads together, but we just couldn't figure out what all the fuss was for.
You're right, sister. Nothing comes to mind. It's not like today is a celebration or anything, right? Surely not an anniversary for a certain show we happen to host.
Perhaps we might find some clues amongst the letters we received. Here's one from a peculiar listener by the name of Night Anon. It reads, Dear Alec and Ellie, congratulations on the harrowing 6-month anniversary. Your show has become such a comfort to me, and by extension, so have the two of you. I love tuning in to hear your show live, but you can bet I love listening to older episodes whenever I need a pick-me-up. You've easily become a big part of my life. I can't wait to see what heights you soar to next. Keep up the good work. Love, Night Anon.
Night, you're an absolute sweetheart. We're happy to be a part of your life as well. No matter where we go, we'll always be right there with you.
How creepy of you to say, brother. Also, Night? Are we nicknaming our Night Anon now?
Night Anon sounds so impersonal. They've been with us since our very first episode, after all.
But I think Knight Anon deserves something cuter, like Nanon.
And to think you used to be so good at coming up with names.
What? Hey! If it's so bad, why don't you come up with something better?
How about Nani? That's cute, right? Oh no, Marie says in her letter that we're picking favorites.
That's not true. We love all our listeners equally. Though, we might be partial to our Nani.
Can you blame us?
Get better soon, Nani. If we could be there to nurse you back to health, we would be.
Unfortunately, you'll just have to put up with us watching you from outside your window. As a man of few words, I could write paragraphs on how special of a person you are, Nani. If the people in your life don't recognize that, just know that we do.
Exactly. We'll always be here for you. We know what it's like to feel rejected and hurt, and we'd never wish that on anyone, especially not someone as amazing as you.
We hope we make you feel a little less alone. I'm your host, Alec.
And I'm your host, Ellie. We've got a fun episode for you today, folks. What makes this episode so fun, you might ask? Well, it's dedicated to someone very special. Can you guess who that might be?
Maybe if we narrow it down, they'll have an easier go of it.
Good idea, brother. Let me give our listener a hint. The person we've dedicated this episode to is the only person listening to this broadcast right now. No one else can hear this but them.
That's a pretty good hint, sister. Here's another. This person has sent us on quite the wild goose chase tonight. We could barely track them down with how bad the signals are so far from town. Guess that's the downside to living in the middle of nowhere. So many twists and turns, so little light, so far from civilization. It's quite dangerous if you get lost.
You can say that again, but thanks to modern invention, there's very few places you can go where signal doesn't follow. Isn't that right, Nani? Turning off the radio when we're speaking to you? That isn't very polite, Nani.
You were so good for us at first, but maybe the cabin fever was getting to you. If you wanted to go for a little stroll together, all you had to do was ask.
Now we have to chase you down, and who knows when you'll get to see the light of day again. It really is such a shame.
You know, for our most dedicated listener, you're awfully bad at listening right now.
Maybe if you paid more attention to the road instead of our voices, you'd realize that you were driving straight for us. Hurry, you might be able to swerve out of the way before you hit us.
I told you we shouldn't have scared them like that.
I know, but any closer to town and they would have ruined our whole plan, brother.
Any faster and they would have been crushed by this tree. What are we going to do about the truck?
Leave it. Right now, getting Nani home is most important.
It'll be a long walk. They can't travel like we can.
Then let's get going, shall we? Since this was your fault, you can finish working on the script and I'll punish Nani this time. Clearly, you've been going far too easy on them. They might need a much rougher hand.